Welcome back. This is Morning Express, and to be a part of the show, remember you can give us your comments and opinions on the conversations that we're having here in studio. I'm at Trix Ingado, Michael's at Michael G Gitonga, and the hashtag to use is KTN Morning Express. We are talking about the Constitution and where we are at as far as its implementation is concerned. And joining me is Dr. Ekuru Aukot, who's going to give us his opinion on whether or not we have done right by the Constitution. Now, welcome to the show, Dr. Aukot.
So much, Trix. Thanks, Mike, and I appreciate your invitation to this show.
We'll just start off, let's throw it back to 10 years ago. Do you think we're doing right by the Constitution? There were so many wonderful things that this Constitution promised, and it was modeled after various constitutions internationally that are deemed as good and very democratic and for the people. So when you see what has happened so far with leadership, diversity, and bringing resources to the grassroots and ensuring that corruption is a matter that has been dealt with, do you think we have done right by it?
Well, first of all, a lot is still good about our Constitution. It's probably one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, done in a record time of just under 2 years. And at 2010, Kenyans were so excited because Kenya, I would say, was in the cusp of renewal. Kenyans were excited about some of the problems that they have gone through over the many years, and they wanted them fixed. For example, the question of devolving resources to each and every part of the Republic of Kenya, a new change in terms of leadership, a revamped human rights bill that's now incorporates both the civil, economic, social rights, group rights, and all that. I mean, a lot of good things are still in our Constitution. But you see, like any proposal, like any constitution anywhere in the world, there is no perfection. But it will depend largely on the kind of stewardship or leadership that a country gets in real life aspirations. So remember, Constitution is also aspirational. And therefore, you need a certain type of leadership or stewardship that will ensure that those aspirations are actually realized. Whether the letter is absolutely clear in the Constitution or not, the spirit must be implemented. So, for example, when we were making the Constitution, we came from an era of almost dictatorship, autocracy by the current regime. And therefore, Kenyans wanted a clear separation of powers between the three arms of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. And also, they created independent constitutional commission, like the National Commission on Human Rights, the National Land Commission, NCIC, and many, many others. For example, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. So Kenyans also wanted those independent constitutional commissions. But over the years, we have actually seen, for example, an executive that is not interested in actually implementing the aspirations of the people of Kenya. We have seen an executive that refuses to obey court orders given by the judiciary. We have also now seen a parliament that has actually completely failed. It has not passed laws such as, for example, the gender rule. This is just purely legislative, purely administrative. So we have also seen an executive that cannot administratively use its power to achieve certain ends that Kenyans wanted. For example, the question of gender rule. We have seen a parliament that's been muscled by the executive. In fact, we are at a stage where, Trees and Mike, we even wonder, why did we even have to elect the 416 members of parliament plus their nominated counterparts? If President Uhuru and Raila can actually commandeer the Senate, so that they now fail to come up with a formula that can distribute resources to the people of Kenya. Why do we have to elect about 349 members of parliament when the president can actually commandeer National Assembly? I mean, I think, I'm sorry to use this example, but we are almost at a stage where either President Uhuru can become Senate or Raila becomes National Assembly or vice versa.
Right.
So we've seen an extent to which actually elected officials are failing to live by the very, very constitution they swore to protect, uphold, and protect.
Okay.
So,
now,
going forward, Trix, I don't think Kenyans should lose hope because our constitution is still very, very beautiful document. It's well done with the people of Kenya in mind. Kenyans now have a choice of actually three things or three scenarios, if you ask me. Number one, answer is an emphatic no, because it's a failed status quo. Number two, probably to wait for the elusive and constitutional directionless proposals called BBI, which we don't even know what it is in the first place. Or thirdly, to go to the more practical proposals by Third Way Alliance Kenya, which is Punguza Mizigo Kenya. Because when you seek to amend the constitution of any country, you must accrue benefits to the people. There has to be a benefit that comes with it to the people. So you cannot just talk about constitutional change without relating it to what benefits does it come to the people. If it's, for example, the question of prudent use of resources as provided for in Article 201 or Chapter 12 of our Constitution, are we punishing thieves of public money enough? We are not. Look at the people stealing money
Dr. Aukot,
meant for COVID-19.
Before we get into that, that is all corruption. I'd like you to go back to the point of talking about the spirit must be right for it to be implemented. And now with the failure of that kind of leadership, then what recourse do Kenyans have? Because we have a document yesterday we have that is Professor Yashpal Gai said was wonderful. He had very glowing remarks and said it is actually depressing to see how we have failed in implementing it. Then what recourse do we have? Because the document in itself, however wonderful it is, cannot do much without the proper mechanism and system to ensure that it is implemented and for the good of the people.
So, let's start from Chapter 1 of the Kenya Constitution, and particularly Article 1, that talks about all sovereign authority and power vests in the people of Kenya, where they can exercise it directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. Now, we've seen a situation where elected representatives, right from the president, this regime, and parliamentarians are fairly Kenyans. So Kenyans have a recourse to now take their power, transfer their power back from the elected leaders and actually exercise it directly. This is how regimes, change of regime start. People need not to wait. People have got the right to demonstration, to picket, all that. They need to call out on this regime. Secondly, if you look at Article 104 of our Constitution, it allows Kenyans to recall any leaders that have failed them. If you look at Chapter 8, if I'm not wrong, on Parliament, it also allows Kenyans to submit a vote of no confidence or impeachment on the person of the president or on a person of government. So Kenyans have a recourse. Kenyans need to stop this lamentation, crying on the sidelines, saying that, oh, leaders have failed us, our constitution is not being implemented. This is our document. We were never given this document by 2 individuals or by 3 individuals or by the 416 members of parliament. We gave ourselves this constitution. I remember the referendum vote on the 4th of August. It was at 70%. 70%. That was August 2010. So this document is largely ours in equal measure. We don't have to be at the mercy of a failed political class, a political class that is now, all they just care about is how much wealth they can amass, in our country, and they don't really care about the constitution anymore. So the truth for the matter is that Kenyans don't need to have pity on themselves. The constitution allows them, it gives them all these powers, they can impeach. And I'm happy that, for example, this year we saw the impeachment of a governor of Kirinyaga. This is Kenyans at their smallest level, at their lowest level, taking up, they're regaining their sovereignty, claiming their sovereignty, and therefore insist this document is ours. It's not for the political class. And like I said, if you look at the status quo today, not good for Kenya. If it is corruption, they have not been able. Not even political promises. If you are just to take into account, for example, the Jubilee regime, right from 2013, even political promises that they could have done administratively have failed. Legislations have failed. Living up to the spirit of this constitution has failed. So really, for anybody to implement a constitution, Trix and Mike, first of all, you must believe in the constitution itself. If you don't believe in the constitution itself, it is an oxymoron to say, let's implement it. And I see a lot of naivety around some politicians who are saying, no, let's not amend the constitution now, but let's fully implement it. What does that mean, to fully implement a constitution, when it's so clear before our very eyes that the current political leadership is not interested, is not even following the constitution? It's even avoiding basic things that have already been established. If you look at, for example, let's go to this constitution. When people are making constitutions, Kenyans are concerned about issues with human rights. That's why you will see in chapter 4, there is a very elaborate provision on the Bill of Rights, an expanded Bill of Rights. But Kenyans were saying that because they had the background, for example, of Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Commission. Things like Wagala Massacre, land clashes of 1992, 97, even 2002, the post-election violence. So that's why Kenyans said, let's have independent constitutional commissions that will now help us realize those rights that have been violated in the past. That's why they came up with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, National Land Commission, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and they were expecting that the Ndungu report, the Akiumi report, Kriegler, Waki report, Ouko, and I can go on and on and on and name all of them that should be implemented in the context of this constitution. But you have a political class that are themselves actually the culprit, the violators of human rights of the people of Kenya. So that if you look at, for example, the question of theft of public money or resources, right from land, it is the political class that are actually stealing it, strictly in that order from the very top. So we need to go back to the drawing board. We don't have to throw away our constitution. It's a wonderful document. I can assure you that. I've had the occasion to actually speak in many countries, in constitution-making process in a number of countries. They admire Kenyans. In fact, one of the geniuses of our constitution, Tricks and Mike, is this chapter 6, where Kenyans say, we now want a certain type and character of leaders, because they realize in the past, it is leadership that has actually let them down. But whereas we may, and this is now I'm speaking to the heart and soul of the Kenyan nation, whereas we may actually keep on blaming the political class, but it's also, this political class also emanates from within the framework of our own very society. It is us who make these choices of the kind of leaders that we now expect to implement the constitution. So to some extent, while the constitution promises all the good things, the people of Kenya also are to blame, because they are the ones who install leaders, who give leaders power, who make the choices for these leaders to be able to implement this constitution. So to some extent, we must take some blame as the general public.
And leadership, you get what you get because you did vote for these leaders. Let's talk about devolution, because you have talked about the various impeachment. How has that unfolded in your view in terms of ensuring that resources get to the people? And are the leaders that we have selected adhering to Chapter 6 of the Constitution in your view? And what more can the agencies mandated in holding us to that chapter do better in terms of ensuring corruption is a thing of the past in the country?
So first of all, devolution is a very good thing. It is the only thing, I think, in the history of our country that's actually equalized all Kenyans. So today, I come from my native county, Turkana. Today, I don't think the Turkana, the Samburu, the Somalis, even the smallest of tribes in this country, people, the Gabra, people from, say, Tana River, can say they are marginalized. They are not marginalized anymore because resources have been equitably redistributed to serve them at their very respective locations. And this you can read right from Article 6 that talks about devolution of services and all organs to each and every part of the Republic of Kenya. And then the Constitution has given the people who are dominant in a county to elect one of their own, or somebody who knows their problems, who knows that it's a problem of water, it's a problem of road, it's a problem of health, and therefore these are the millions of money, actually billions of Kenya shillings, in which you can now implement it. But how has that worked out? It hasn't really worked out effectively because of the wrong choices, again, we make in terms of leadership. So what we now need to going forward, and this is where I differ with those people who say, let's fully implement the Constitution. As we are proposing in Punguza Mizigo, Kenya, we now need to strengthen devolution, make it even more stronger. And what do we mean by strengthening devolution? Number one, let's start from who is in charge of the county funds. Today, it is not too clear in the Constitution that the governor is actually directly responsible for the expenditure of funds. He enjoys political power, they even call them the excellencies and whatever, but when it comes to expending money, theft of public money, the governor always gets away with it. So what we are proposing at Punguza Mizigo, Kenya, is we now make the governor the chief accounting of county officer. He signs each and every check. He becomes the executive, so that when money is lost, then he must take direct responsibility. Secondly, we are also proposing that we now want to see devolution, money going beyond county headquarters. My experience last year, when we went to around 29 county assemblies, all the MCAs, members of the county assembly, agreed with us that if an MCA is not in good talking terms with the governor, then the region or the ward he comes from is denied development money. He can't fix the roads, he can't fix the bridges, he can't fix the schools and all that. So we are proposing that we now tighten some of the provision in the constitution so that money can go directly to the ward level, because that is the only way you can bring meaningful inclusivity in this country. Inclusivity in this country will not come by attempting to amend the constitution to accommodate the so-called big tribes or up there at the national level. As a matter of fact, Kenyans actually do not even need the national level now. We need a national level that is very representative. The third thing that we need to do, Trix, is we now need to effectively use the Auditor General report. The Auditor General spends about 6 months trying to establish how money that is devolved, that is meant to give people water, medicine, bed space, and the dispensary is being spent. What has happened is that the political class has colluded with the executive, so that when the audit report is complete, because when an audit report is complete, and I'm not an audit, when an audit ends to a report, has already made a finding that so and so asked for X, Y amount of money. He said he's going to spend it in building a bridge, but he has not. So now we are proposing at PMK that we now need to use the audit report as a masterpiece of evidence. And as a practicing advocate of many years, it will not take me even an hour if I put the auditor on the stand and I ask him to explain to me how he audited County X. It won't be difficult to actually nail governors who have stolen public money. In fact, we now need to change our lingua. This thing called corruption is not even somebody who accounts for money, we can easily nail that person. The problem has also been our politicians, who, when the audit report is actually received tabled in Parliament, number one, they choose to call it audit queries. That's wrong. It's not an audit query. It's actually a finding. And they are doing that deliberately because they are part of the thieving culture we have in Kenya. And this is why, for us, we are proposing to strengthen this constitution. We now need to give the Auditor General more teeth. Okay. Let's now begin to have what is called forensic evidence gathering, which is really meant for criminal prosecution. Let's ask the ODPP within a certain time to begin to open up charges against the respective county executives, the governors, and that is the only way we can end theft of public money. And that is the only way we can achieve the objects of devolution, the objects of public finance, and that's the only way we can actually begin to equalize our country using this constitution. And going forward, we will have created a nation state in which all of us belong to Kenya in equal measure.
Okay, Dr. Aukot, we have had the IEBC talking about it not being an optimum time to make such amendments to the Constitution, and obviously so we seem to have a spectator behind you. But then let's carry on. Obviously, yeah. Now they talk about it being too late to make these changes. Where does this sit on you, given that you are pushing for also change that in your light would be good for the country? Do you think it is too late? Raila Odinga said there's no such thing. They have the resources. They should go ahead and do it. Where does this sit with you? Because we do indeed have very little time before the upcoming election.
Actually, we have plenty of time, Trix, because the truth for the matter is, like I keep on saying, when we say we want to amend the Constitution of Kenya, it has to be juxtaposed on a benefit people. And the only problem now seem to have in this country is that we have actually allowed discourse around changing our constitution to be a preserve of one or two individuals. That's where we go wrong, because that is the politicization, the negative politicization of our constitution-making process. So on the question of IEBC, I think it's important Kenyans accept that there are individuals in our country, political players in our country, who have never wanted a stable election management body, an electoral management body. If you follow the history of IEBC, right from, I think, 1997, the IPPG, we've never had an IEBC that actually presides over 2 elections. At every election cycle, we have a different IEBC, a different electoral management body. And why? Because the political class, who just want power for the sake of wanting power, never want an independent electoral management body. Look at, for example, the clamor to disband the current IEBC. Yes. In fact, I've wondered why. What wrong have they done? And I'm not saying IEBC is perfect. Neither are those individuals perfect anyway, because they keep on saying, let's disband IEBC before the next election. Yet, let's be honest, they only say disband IEBC because the outcome of a presidential election does not favor them. But they never say, I've never seen a governor, a senator, member of parliament, women rep, member of the county assembly resign because the results of their position today were actually announced by the current IEBC. Why don't we see mass resignation of members of parliament, of senators, of women rep? Why is the clamor to disband the IEBC only related to a presidential vote or to somebody who says, I've been robbed my votes over and over again? Right. That is the dishonesty we see in our constitution, because most of these individuals who are now clamoring for change do not even believe in the letter and spirit of the constitution. Because if there's a problem with an electoral management body, all you need to do is come up with charges. How come we've never seen an election official be charged? Because electoral malpractice is criminal in nature. And therefore, you should be able to criminally charge an election officer who has actually mismanaged an election. But we don't see this argument. Instead, we see, oh, let's disband IEBC. It's not too late. It is not too late. Let me tell you, it may even look expensive today for us to amend our constitution, like we are proposing at Third Way Alliance Kenya. But look at the long-term benefits. We are the only political party, at the risk of blowing a trumpet, that actually has costed what savings will come to Kenya. And last year we costed it, Kenyans were going to save trillions of Kenya shillings in benefit if you amend our constitution today. So I see nothing wrong, even if we spend 2 billion Kenya shillings or even 10 billion Kenya shillings to actually save trillions of Kenya shillings that we can now plow into our health sector. Now we are learning big lessons that with COVID-19, we should focus more on how to build our healthcare infrastructure. We should focus more on how to build our education system.
Connection
those
is
who can
not
afford to take their kids to
good,
private schools. I'm saying the difficulties we see right now with even, for example, COVID-19, even though the Constitution provides for the right to education for everyone, the right to healthcare. But the truth for the matter is, with now COVID-19, those who are able to take their kids to private schools continue to learn. Majority of Kenyans are not able to continue to learn. And that's why for us we are saying, if you make any amendments to the Constitution, you must then address the things that will actually help Kenyans feel humane. And that's, for example, healthcare system today. You cannot keep on asking Kenyans, go and get tested, spend 10,000 Kenya shillings to get tested for COVID-19. We need to fix our healthcare infrastructure. We can only do that if we save enough money from this theft of public money that we are seeing and actually plow those resources properly into the communities.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ekuru Aukot, for your sentiments, very passionate sentiments there on the Constitution, where we are at and why there is need for some elements to be changed. And Michael, do you have any comments from our viewers on Twitter?